Hopefully, because we're doing this other stuff, we won't have to do too much editing, but we might have to do some editing in this one, but hopefully it'll be recorded.
All
I
right.
can hear you. So.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you. I don't have it ajar, so.
Yeah.
But I do like that it is blocking out
It's
noise.
blocking out some of that white noise. All right. Well, I guess, are we happy?
All righty.
Let me know when to start the timer.
Oh, go ahead. Hi, I'm Valerie, and
I'm Benny.
welcome to our podcast where one of us comes in and throws out a topic to the other one, and he, my brother, does not know. And then
Yeah.
hopefully with whatever the topic is, it will inspire you and hopefully have at least one takeaway that you can apply to your week.
Yeah. So I have to admit, last week was our first episode. So this is episode 2. And I am a little anxious because I introduced the topic last week, and now I'm like thinking I hope I have something to offer, but if I don't, I will just ask a lot of questions.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. That's what this whole thing should be about. It should be fun, right?
It better be fun, because
Yeah.
otherwise I'm not doing it anymore.
Well, anyway, let's just get into the week, though. I need
Okay.
to know what you did last weekend.
Last weekend?
Yeah.
What did I do last weekend?
You hung out with me at
Oh.
Mom's birthday party.
Oh my gosh, we had the best time. Our mom turned 81,
Yeah.
and she is still, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, full of life. But I just love the fact, I just loved the place that she chose to do it. It was really
So fun.
It was really fun. I wasn't sure what it was going to be like, and I knew there was going to be live music, which sometimes is not a great thing, and I just didn't know what it was going to be like, and so it turned out to be a whole lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And it was just great to see, like, our parents are 81 and 83, and they would do their little swing dancing and stuff. And it's just good to see, like, some people in their 80s aren't quite moving around like that. So it was just fun. We had everybody from Mom, 81, and then Marley, who turned 2 that day, and dancing on the dance floor.
Yeah,
So it was
Marley, my my grand niece.
my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, it was so fun. Not only was I also, this is something new for me. It was actually at Nicole, my niece, your daughter's wedding, where the first time that I really danced.
You never danced.
I never ever would dance,
Yeah.
and thankfully we didn't have dancing at our wedding, which was more of a budget issue than not wanting it. But honestly, I have never danced before, so I have found it to be quite fun. Which
Yeah.
don't let my wife hear that, because I don't want to do it all the time. But
I love dancing, but I will admit, you wanted to keep dancing at Nicole's wedding, and my feet were killing me, and I'd sit down and you'd go to pull me up. I'm like, oh my God.
yeah, I had a little too much to drink too, so that was another thing. but honestly, I did have a very good time, and I was and ever since then, now I shouldn't say that it's like I look for opportunities to dance. That's probably not true, but I will say for years I sat in my seat bouncing around, and people would ask me to dance, and I would just say no.
And then I'm completely opposite. A song comes on and I love it. I don't care if I have a partner. I will get in the middle of the floor and just start dancing.
Yeah, and I always actually looked at people like you and other people, and quite frankly, really bad dancers, and I thought, well, I could do that,
Right.
So
It's like karaoke. You're like,
but
I can sing that.
but I still wouldn't do it.
Right.
I just wouldn't do it. And now I am definitely not a great dancer, but I have fun, and I don't care what
You
people are saying
conquered
about
that
me.
fear.
Yeah, that was a huge
Yeah.
thing for me. It was
Yeah.
a huge thing for me. So I actually look back at Nicole's wedding and I go, that was a really cool experience, not just because it was fun, but because it unleashed something
Yeah.
in me. So that was really
Yeah.
cool. Another podcast another
Yeah.
time. Or actually,
Yeah.
I don't know what the topic is. Maybe it'll work here.
No, it was fun. So the week was good. I had a really busy week because on top of all that, we had our anniversary. We went out for the anniversary. I'm planning our 40th reunion, had a reunion meeting, and we're putting the slideshow together for that. So this week has just been crazy. And to get here a week later to record this
You
is
are
like,
having
I
your
feel like
40th reunion?
40th. Yeah. I know I only look like I'm 40, but it's a 40th high school reunion.
That's crazy.
And I'm just kidding.
40 years old. I just want to
Crazy.
remind everybody who's listening that she's older than me. So, yeah, but anyway.
Well,
All right.
anyway, so as you mentioned, or I mentioned, this is a podcast where one of us is coming in with the topic, and then we're going to ask the other person about it. So before we get in with the topic, though, it kind of relates. So I'm going to backtrack from what we said last week. And if you haven't listened to that podcast, that was our first one. We just really flew off by the seat of our pants, if that's the saying. So go back and listen to it. But I mentioned in that podcast that I had a disordered eating problem. And you said disordered eating, or do you mean eating disorder? And then it kind of flustered me because I'm like, no, I mean disordered eating. And then I thought, well, whatever, it doesn't matter because really wasn't the point. And so I just kind of went. And then after going home and thinking about it, and then I even started looking it up because I'm like, did I actually have an eating disorder? And then I realized, no, I was right. It was a disordered eating. And backtracking to how I looked at food back then was I couldn't control anything else in my life at that point in time. The only thing I could control was food. And so I controlled it to a fault. Mm. But the reason I didn't call it an eating disorder is because it didn't consume my every move about my day.
Right.
It wasn't
pathological.
And yes, and it wasn't even about body dysmorphia, if you want to call it that, or I didn't think I needed to lose a lot of weight. I didn't think I needed to gain weight. It was more just, this is what I can control. And that was the only thing I can control at that time. So I controlled it to a fault.
No, I appreciate you bringing it up because I know we're probably going to, well, I certainly am going to make mistakes. And so we'll, I shouldn't, what I need to do is instead of correcting you is ask more questions about it.
Yeah.
So
well,
that's
it was fine. I didn't really even feel like it was a question because actually when you said it, I'm like, wait, I said it wrong.
Yeah. Well, I had never heard of
disordered eating.
Disordered
eating. It's just
eating.
like I basically had a very unhealthy relationship with food, and it was because I needed to control something in my life, and that was the only thing I could control.
Gotcha.
So that said,
yeah, what's our topic?
My topic, I wrote the question down for you. Ask Bennie.
Oh, sure.
What is your relationship with food? How do you look at food, and is it a healthy relationship, or is it what is your relationship with food, or do you even have a relationship with food?
Well, I definitely have a relationship with food, for God's sake, if you're watching. So I'm not sure I understand the question. If you mean, how do I know our mom, let's just talk about this. Our mom always thought of food as it's just sustenance. Mm-hmm. It was not necessarily something to really enjoy. It was, not to say that she never enjoys food. It's just that what was the most important part was you just need food. And then she, did the old school thing of you have to have a starch, you have to have a veggie, mm-hmm. and you have to have. And so I guess I learned that's what we need to do. But when it comes to food, for me, I really enjoy food. Mm-hmm. I love food. Mm-hmm. So I have had to make very conscious decisions in regards to when I'm allowed to do what, because when I break those those rules that I have made, not only does it affect me physically, but it actually affects me mentally too, because I'm telling I told myself I'm not going to do something and then I do it. So
right. And so you even saying the word allowed, when I'm allowed to, I think you should take that actually out of the vocabulary, because I think we're allowed to do anything. It's what you choose to put into your system or not. Like, I never liked the, I'm going to cheat. I have a cheat day on Saturday.
Oh, right.
Because when you look at the word cheat, it's such a negative thing. Cheating on a spouse, cheating on a test. It's a negative thing. So we don't cheat if we decide to indulge in something you don't normally indulge in, right?
I will say I also don't like the idea of a cheat day for because a cheat day ruins your 6 good days. So
know.
it's like it doesn't make any sense. So
Right.
It's like,
I remember, I mean, honestly, going back to the whole control thing, there would be days where I guess that could be a borderline eating disorder where I would just like give in and eat everything and anything. And then since I gave in and ate anything and everything, I would go, well, I already did it. So I might as well give in and eat anything and everything tomorrow too. And then I'll start on Monday back to controlling it all. So yeah, I hear what you're saying about that because I feel like you eat something, you're like, that probably wasn't the best choice, but just get right back on track with.
And that is something that I do practice pretty well. So I don't kick myself for very long. I don't live there, and I also, it's interesting that you said, because I it might have been a Freudian slip that I said aloud, but what I really should say is, I just have a certain lifestyle that I live, and this is the way I choose to live it, and then so let me tell you about my day and how when I start off. So I always start off with coffee every single morning. Big coffee drinker. I get up very early, so I just have coffee. Usually go for a walk, come back, and then I have a couple of eggs, almost always. And then I have usually some kind of tortilla with some kind of fruit / little piece of meat, some kind of meat thing. And then for lunch, I usually do salad, and then I do some kind of little protein. Dinner, I do some, actually eat pretty well for dinner as well. The biggest problem that I have is not just snacking, but just binge eating, like with ice cream in particular. Man, if ice cream is in the house, it's not going to be in the house for long. Anything with peanut butter in it, I'm going to eat it to death. Those kind of things, it's crazy. So you think of mom, and mom, she was the kind of person that could literally have the mini. What was it? What are those things?
Yeah, like the little.
What was that story? She had a mini.
It was a Reese's peanut butter.
She had a little, and not even the real
mini.
size, a mini Reese's peanut butter.
She cut it in half.
And she cut it in half and ate it and wrapped the rest of it.
Yeah.
Call the cops.
Okay. But I have to say, I've picked that trade up from her because I will like buy the big chocolate bars and I will have like a piece of the dark chocolate and that's it. And then put the rest away and then I will get a piece the next day or what have you. I did pick that up. I don't have an addictive behavior, so that's good. Like I can open up a little bit of like we buy the So Delicious cashew cream ice cream and I can have just a few spoonfuls and I'm good to go. Peter's a lot like you. If it's sitting there, he will eat it. That's why a lot of times he'll say, you fill my plate up. If it's on my plate, I'm eating it. So, when he wanted to cut back on some calories, I didn't quite fill the plate.
Right. So for me, what's interesting about what you're saying is, I think the thing, like for our listeners, for me, is okay. So how do we get out of this? How do we make that relationship?
And that's why I
good?
wanted to ask you what your relationship with is, because so many people have unhealthy relationship with food. For example, you get sad or depressed and then you just eat everything in the house, or
right.
You're addicted to certain foods or foods in general and you just eat. There's a lot of unhealthy or you just have triggers that make you want to eat something. And so I just wondered, and I know for the most part, because you're my brother, how you eat, but I wanted to ask you like how your thought on food. Because for me at this point in my life, food is fuel. And so I do look at it a lot like mom, it's sustenance, but not just sustenance. I want it to do something good for my body. I don't want to just put empty calories in there. I don't want to put something that's going to possibly cause me inflammation or what have you. And so I did put like a couple notes here. So let me just say, that was the thing. Because a lot of times, I'm going to mention Coco's Paleo Kitchen. I had that Instagram forever, and that was very food related. But a lot of people would come at me and ask, what could I do to lose weight? Like, tell me what I should eat. Well, first of all, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a dietitian or nutritionist, so I'm not going to do that. But the other thing is there's so many components in what somebody might have in their daily lifestyle with food. Like, what do you work out? Do you sleep well? Do you have a job? Like, what is your job? You can't just prescribe here's what I eat every single day. That should work for you because there's so many different things.
Right.
I would never tell you to eat exactly what I would tell Patty to eat if I were to give you guys a diet, so to speak, because you work out like crazy. You're you need a lot more protein. You need this, you need that. Patty goes for walks. And I'm not minimizing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you cannot just say, well, this will work for you because it works for me. And so I always steered clear when people would ask me that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, what I would tell these people is to please just try to focus on real food. Stay away from processed foods. And that's why I adopted the paleo lifestyle, because it's kind of how our bodies were designed to eat. Eat protein, healthy fats, greens, vegetables, I should say lean meats, and then greens, vegetables, and
I think
nuts
the thing
and
is,
seeds.
and this is an issue that, so here, maybe I'm getting more into your question, because what I'll say is this, is that, like in terms of my triggers, probably my biggest trigger is boredom. I don't eat when I'm sad. I don't eat when I don't get sad a lot, to be honest with you. And I don't get depressed a lot. I don't get tired a lot. When I wake up, literally between 3 and 5 in the morning, I am up until I go to bed. I mean, I'm usually energized for the day. I rarely am really tired. I just have a lot of energy, and so I could just keep going. What I will say is, if I find myself getting bored, and then that's probably a trigger, if I'm going to call it, because all of a sudden I'm like, well, what am I going to do? And all of a sudden the refrigerator becomes this huge, it's the only device in the room.
Right.
And so I just want to go to the refrigerator. And so what I try to do, so what we do, in our podcast studio, aka the dining room, I put, just some nuts and what are those things called? Cashews and
Those are nuts.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So cashews and the brown one. What is the brown one
Almonds?
called? Almonds. Thank you. So I just put those, so that way I can go grab a couple, three, a few of those things. And then, I try to curb myself from going to another place, because Patty can control, my wife, by the way, she can control what she eats. So she tries to be strategic in hiding it, but I can sniff it out like a dog sniffs out cocaine. So it's like I can find it. So
Right.
so the truth is that, but I need to figure out what other things to do. I have a horrible habit, but it is helpful for me, at least for now, of putting gum in my mouth, because at least
That actually makes you hungrier.
well, don't tell me that.
No, it's true.
Why?
You don't find that?
No.
No, it's true. Because you're tricking your brain. You're chewing, you're swallowing saliva, and it's tricking your brain. And the next thing you know, your stomach's like, where's the food? Where is it coming in?
Is that true?
So, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'll look it up to make sure. But I did hear that one day, and I thought, you know what? That makes so much sense.
that
Why did my
does-
stomach
It
grow?
actually does make sense. God, so no wonder. Never mind. Next week I'm going to lose 20 pounds. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I hear you
do
on the
eat a lot.
boredom thing, because it's funny that you even said that. A few weeks ago, it was raining, and I didn't have to work that day. And Peter was, that's when Kylie and Peter were in New York. I was by myself. It was raining. I was home by myself, and I was like, just kept walking to the kitchen to the fridge. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing? So I ended up just going for a walk in the rain. I put a hooded jacket on. I'm like, okay, this is boredom. This is not hunger. This is boredom. And so
No, that's a great thing that you just said, because that's one of the things that I do try to do. Even for me, because I'm in school and I'm getting my master's, and I have to read a lot. And what I'll find is I'm reading something that's really, honestly, I'm really enjoying what I learn, but there are times I'm reading stuff that's just dense, and I just want to find something to distract me. But what I find works the best is I stand up and I walk, and I literally walk while I'm reading, or today, because it's ridiculously hot, I sat outside
Right.
in the shade, and that worked for me to keep me just focused, just try and stay focused. Ironically, I used to put music on that was like for, something called study beats, or one of those kind of things that just helps you study. And now I find it that the best thing for me is just complete quiet. I just love complete quiet. And I could just, I don't know. It's very interesting, because it used to be that I couldn't do anything without the TV on, and my mind was going all these different directions. And these last several years, a bunch of changes in my life, and one of them is that I'm more present, and I'm able to focus on things.
But see,
more.
I think that too, and I'm bringing it back to food.
Good.
I think that being able to focus, having the energy that lasts you all day until you decide to go to bed, has a huge I think the food has a huge impact on that. Because if you weren't fueling yourself, and it sounds like you're fueling yourself with great foods, you wouldn't have energy to sustain unless you were, drinking coffee all day long. And then if you have a good night's sleep, I think that's huge too.
Yeah, I will say, and I don't know if this is, I think this is something that happens when you do start to eat healthy, for lack of a better word. I don't like the word healthy because I'm not sure that I can say that I eat real healthy. What I like to say is I don't eat poorly. Mm-hmm. But I don't crave a lot of things. I don't have the cravings that I used to when I was a kid of, just all kinds of chips or candy bars. I mean, I literally am not even tempted usually when I see those kind of things. There are certain things that at certain moments I'm like, ooh, I would love to have that. But nowadays I've even chosen to eat normally less. And then the second thing that I do is even we choose like Siete Foods, like chips or something.
And there's so many
better.
things like back when I first started eating like this, I had to make my own stuff because I didn't have pre-made Siete chips, grain-free chips, or they didn't have the grain-free tortillas, or they didn't have.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to be grain-free. That works for me. I didn't realize how inflamed I was until I got rid of that stuff. Like I didn't realize I did not feel good until I felt good. And so it was very interesting getting rid of mostly gluten, I'll say, and sugar. Those two things, as soon as those things were eliminated from my body, I realized, oh, I don't have certain aches. I don't have a bloated stomach. My allergies went away. And I think it's because, and I think you and I talked about this one time, so our bodies are so smart because our bodies know to focus on the bigger picture, focus on the biggest thing that's ailing us. So,
I remember this.
Yeah. So, for example, with my allergies, it had a lot of my body had a lot of inflammation from all the foods I was eating or not eating. Because I mean, what you put in is just as bad as good. Or anyway,
I think where you're going. I remember, if I could tell you my little story was, I would because I worked with kids for 20 years or 15 years or whatever it was, and we'd always go on a trip. And every single time I came back from the trip, I would be sick. And finally, after 10 years or 15 years or whatever of this happening, I went to the doctor. I had gone to the doctor. Like I said, every single time I go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, it's because you're with kids. Oh, it's because you're with kids. But I'm like, there was several adults and they didn't all get sick. Why am I the one that keeps getting sick? So finally, someone did a bunch of blood tests and everything. And what ended up happening was they said, well, you have ridiculous allergies. And it fascinated me because they said what happens is that your body is fighting allergies so much that when a virus or anything comes, it's like, Matt, forget it. I can't do anything with that.
The allergies. And that's what I would say with people with the losing weight thing, getting with our bodies are smart. If it doesn't care if you have 10 pounds, 20 pounds that you want to lose, if it's trying to fight off something bigger in your system. And so therefore you're not going to lose that weight until it tackles maybe something going wrong in your gut or you have.
Well, and don't you even think to some degree, or I'm not, again, I guess I'm certainly not a nutritionist or anything like that. I've done my fair share of reading, but I wouldn't say that I'm anywhere near an expert. But what I can say is in terms of diets, we have folks in our family that have struggled. And I just remember Mom saying something one time. She goes, it's fascinating because people that are on diets, they always talk about their diets and how come it works and how come it doesn't and what's good about it and what's this and that and the other. And she said, why don't you just talk to a thin person and ask them what they do? What do they do and how much do they eat and how is that? And when she said that one time, I thought, that's amazing because that's really true. It's like, if you just think, okay, because Mom's never been on a diet, so to speak, at least not that I know of. If she's ever wanted to lose a little weight, she just kind of goes, okay, I'm going to cut down on this and that. And then that's it. But she's never really gone on a diet. Because in my opinion, go for it.
Let me just interject because I had that same mindset that Mom had back in the day. And I hear what you're saying and I agree to an extent. But this is where I've completely changed that thought is that...
Wait, you agree to an extent, but this is where I've completely changed that thought.
Well, I guess I agree. I guess I understand. That's the word, not agree. I understand. But here's the difference. My thing isn't about being slim because...
Yeah.
There are very, very unhealthy slim people. There are skinny fat people. And my thing is about fueling my body to thrive in life, fueling my body so that I don't have aches, so that I don't have inflammation.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So
you're saying talking to any thin person is not necessarily a good idea.
No, because I mean,
gotcha.
back again, you talked to me back in the day when I was, had disordered eating. I was a thin person. But if you ask me what I ate, I had 10 grape tomatoes, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
so I see how that makes sense. But I would say, if you're a healthy person like Mom, who I think is healthy, like she's not unhealthy,
right?
And she does walk. She's 81 years old, still dancing, and she's able to move, going to Europe this summer with us. And anyway, she's really. She's able to move around. So she's a good example. But what I would say, what I was really getting at is, in my opinion, every diet works if you stick to it. The truth is that most people just don't stick to whatever diet they're going to do. And I don't even like the word diet, because it's just, for me, it should not be a diet. It should be a lifestyle. It should be, because once you're on a diet, I don't care what it is. Weight Watchers, probably one of the biggest ones out there, right? If you're on Weight Watchers and you lose 20 pounds, and then you say, good, I don't need it anymore. Well, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
You're just going to gain your 20 pounds back.
And then here I go again. This is where you and I are like, because I guess I'm not really talking about weight. I'm talking more just about food in general for fuel and to be healthy. Because when you go back to Weight Watchers, I think things have changed now with Weight Watchers, but back then they had that point system.
Right.
And I do remember you could eat really
bad food,
not healthy things if it stayed within the point system.
Right.
So, I guess my thing is like, I want people to thrive. I want people to feel good. And that's where the Coco's Paleo Kitchen, what we kind of touched on last week, was that's where I wanted to help people. People came to me and said, so getting back to like, can you write down what I should eat in a day? Well, I couldn't, but I directed them in a way to eat real food, to stop when they were hungry, or to eat when they were hungry and stop when they were full.
Full. Stop when they're satisfied.
Before you're full,
Stop
because
when
your brain will register later that you're actually full. And then they would come back to me and they're like, well, not only did I drop 10 pounds, but I got off medication.
Yeah.
And so because it's all encompassing, it's not just about the scale. It's not just about.
Well, I do agree with you, because I'm using Weight Watchers because I think I'm using any of those diets because that's what people talk about. But I do agree with you 100%. That it's not about diet for me. It's about a lifestyle that you're saying, okay, I'm choosing to make it. I'm choosing to do a different way of life, because I also agree. One thing that I wish that people, I will say, I weigh myself nearly every morning, and the real reason why I do that though is I kind of just want to know in the ballpark where I am, because sometimes it's like you just get off,
Right.
But normally I'm within 3 pounds. And so if I'm in that 3 pound thing, then I'm just happy. If I'm less than 3 pounds, I'm even happy. But then I often feel like, oh, maybe I can have some ice cream. But then but if I'm going over, then I kind of go, ooh, it's almost always in my case a portions issue. I'm eating too much,
right?
And so I just need to reduce. So, but I think the thing that gets me more like motivated is the way I feel.
Totally.
Feeling. I mean, I know for sure when I was heavier and I would be in a car for a long drive or something like that, I would start to feel sick because it was just that sloshing around of my body. I didn't realize it. And then as it got to a point where I was, less weight, but honestly just healthier. All of a sudden, things that used to bother me didn't bother me like they did. And then, like I said, I know it's weird that I get up at 3, anywhere around that time frame. But 3, and then I do go to bed early. I sleep for 7 hours probably, at least every single night. But I love the mornings. I love the fact that I have energy, and that's something that I can't say.
And
that
that's
is
me
always
too.
been the
I
case.
honestly have energy all day long. I wake up 5, go work out, have my whole day, and I don't. And when I finally fall asleep, when I say finally, I go to bed at 10. I sleep all night. I don't wake up and I don't even wake up and pee. I think you wake up and pee.
Oh gosh.
I don't.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. Excuse me. But yeah, pretty much I have a faithful little meeting with the toilet at about midnight.
I wanted to share this quote because this is intuitive eating. Because a lot of people do struggle with body image or just have an unhealthy relationship with food, and I read this a while back. The food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. And that's by Amy Wigmore. And I saw that and I thought that's so true, because what you fuel yourself with can actually help heal you and fuel you and drive you and make you thrive, or it can end up, hurting you,
So
ailing you.
cool.
So,
Valerie, then how do you want to,
well,
what do you want to leave these folks with?
whoever's listening, and if this anything in our conversation resonated with
I think
you,
it's our mom and dad and our spouses that are listening.
yes. So mom and dad, no, but if anything resonates with you, just take a minute to add one healthy thing into your diet. That's all I have to say. One healthy thing. Don't worry about taking something out right now. Just try to add one healthy thing, and then maybe next week pull out an unhealthy thing. And then just because if this is something that you struggle with and you don't know where to start, I would say baby step it. Do not go full throttle, because we want you to succeed in this. Don't want it to be a 1 week thing and then you're like, can't do this anymore.
And the one thing I would add to that, not having known the topic, what I can tell you is this: have positive self-talk in regards to what's going on, because it's so easy to kick ourselves if we kind of go a direction we didn't mean to, and then it just makes us not want to do it again, because we don't want to quote unquote fail again. Yep. And so have positive self-talk. Tomorrow's going to be better than today, or whatever, or even this afternoon is going to be better than this morning, or whatever it is. And
it's okay if you did eat that cookie and you didn't want to, you just go, oh, well, move on.
That's right. So, well, thanks, Val.
Thank
Valerie
you.
Lynn, this
hope you
was
guys
very
enjoyed
good.
This.
Yes, I really do hope that you guys enjoyed our little podcast that has no name.
Yes.
It's just a podcast about helping you out
Hopefully
for the week.
We will have one when this airs.
So mom and dad and anybody else out there, if you would please push like or subscribe, and maybe recommend it, comment, let us...
Comment and let us know what you think.
Yeah, what do you think?
Maybe a podcast idea.
Yeah, if you have an idea, something that you're struggling with that we could chat about, us being the nominal, or I should say the non-experts, but we do enjoy talking about stuff. So
Experience.
Please like it, subscribe it. It'll help get it out. And we're just glad to do this. Thanks, Valerie. I think it was a good one.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
We'll see you guys or hear you guys. Well, we won't do any of that. We'll talk to you next
later.
week.
Have a good week.
Have a great week.